Welcome to the Fatherhood Chronicles. I'm Caleb.
My name's Logan, and today we're diving into Chronicle 1, Episode 2.
So today we got our first official interview of the show.
We're super excited to bring this interview to you guys today. This is a soon-to-be father who you guys may or may not have seen a video of on TikTok. He's actually got 103 million views on one of his videos on TikTok. And believe it or not, this interviewee is actually pretty close to the show. I think you guys are going to like this interview. All right, so here we go. We're diving into episode 2 of the podcast. As you can see, Caleb's no longer by my side, and that's because you guys aren't going to guess. Episode 2 is Caleb.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me, Logan.
Of course.
And me.
All right, so we did the intro episode, and some of the people have seen that at this point, but let's dive in a little bit deeper. Let's start off, just tell everyone about who Caleb is.
Hey, so I'm Caleb Cutler. I have been married for almost 5 years. We're about 4.5 years. We've got a kid on the way, like we said in the intro. She's actually due anytime. It's our first baby girl. She's going to be due on the 22nd, or that's her due date. We'll see if that happens. She is due anytime at this moment, which is kind of crazy. When you were saying the intro, it kind of sunk in that by the time that they may be watching this, that we'll already have our baby girl. So that kind of set in. And yeah.
Yeah, it kind of hits when you finally have that realization that baby's almost here.
Yeah, it came in stages. When we found out, it was like, oh, whoa, yes, dream come true. For me personally, I've always wanted to be a dad. And then just as we go on, there's different stages that you get more excited. First, there's fear of the baby actually surviving, at least for me. And then we just have more excitement.
So you have one kid on the way. What do you do for a living then? What do you do for work?
So yeah, I work at Costco. I work in the meat department. I am technically a meat wrapper. That's what my...
You're a meat wrapper? I love that. That's your new nickname now too.
Oh gosh. That's what my schedule says. I'm a meat wrapper. But so I go into work at 6 a.m. and I do I do it. I do the meat truck. So the shipment that comes in receiving, I organize it and then put it in our tiny cooler.
You got a little bit of built-up tension against that.
Every single day. I hate it. And I hope that one day corporate sees this. I may be moved on in life from Costco when corporate sees this. So actually just leave it how it is, since I'll just let the next guy suffer.
Okay, so you work 6:30, 2:30, give or take, at Costco in the meat department. What does your wife do? Does your wife work?
Yep, she does nails.
So you do meat and she does nails. Wow. You guys are all over it.
Yeah, she's a nail tech, so she does nails.
That sounds pretty cool. So what's her work schedule look like then?
That's a really good question.
Oh.
Yeah. She's gone when I get home and get home when I'm home.
Oh.
So,
you guys just don't see each other.
Her work schedule is I think maybe around 9:30, 10 to 6:30.
Oh, okay. So she's later start and works later into the evening. So what is that going to look like when baby's here? What's your guys' plan for you guys working?
That's a good question. That's kind of one of my worries is how we're going to figure out schedules. Because I'm fairly new at Costco. I'm almost a year employee, but I'm in a department where Costco is very seniority based. So I kind of jumped into the meat department. Honestly, I think God put me there, which is awesome because it shouldn't have happened. And I love working mornings because I can get off early in the day and still have the rest of the day to work. So if Costco can keep me on mornings, then Naomi, when she eventually goes back to work, she'll work more evening shifts. So then she can have the morning with the baby.
So will she start once you get home for nails and work till 8 p.m.?
Yeah, probably.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's going to be a fun balance.
Yeah. That's why it's my biggest worry.
So outside of...
Also why I'm trying to find a job where I can work from home, work remotely.
So what other worries come up when you guys are thinking about getting ready for baby? Like if Naomi called right now and said, I'm going into labor, what are the 3 worries that you guys aren't ready for yet? What?
I don't have a bag packed. One of my fears was how fast do I need to drive to the hospital? We personally don't live far from the hospital compared to where you've been with all your children.
We don't even live relatively far from a
True.
hospital.
Yeah, like my brother lives 45 minutes from the hospital.
Yeah, that's
and he
a
has to
little
go
bit
through
more.
a pass, So that would have more of a planning out and maybe even more anxiety. Maybe staying with our parents in town or something if that was the case. So my thing was like, how fast do I need to drive to the hospital? Like, if her water breaks, in my mind, just being a dude, I don't really know the anatomy or whatever happens in there. I thought that it was like a balloon that just bursts and then like the skin and placenta or whatever that they're in is just shrinking them and they're like just trying to get out. But as I learned more, it's that there's still fluid left over and stuff, and they're still fine for I think like a maximum. You really want to go to the hospital around like 6 hours max.
I'm laughing at this because it's like it sounds funny once you've had your first, but it's kind of that mindset that every dad has kind of had. Like it's not that far fetched for us to think as guys. Like
Right.
I had the same thoughts where I was like, wait, so if her water breaks, does that mean I'm like sprint to the hospital and like 90 on the freeway?
Right.
Like,
Yeah. Like, do I call 911? Hey, if you see a silver Tundra,
right?
don't pull him over. My wife is pregnant. Like,
You guys are week away, 2 weeks away from expecting your first, give or take. And that is super exciting. Obviously, you guys aren't thinking about it right now because there's a lot going on, but I'm sure you guys have had conversations about other kids. Do you guys have a dynamic that you guys are expecting time frame apart from kids and how many?
yeah. So, I've got 3 siblings. She's got 3 siblings, different age ranges, a little bit more spread apart than my siblings. So we do like the more bigger family dynamic. So we want to have 4 kids, God willing. Hopefully split genders, even 2 and 2. That would be nice because that's how my family is. She's the only girl of 3 younger boys. So it would be nice to have, a good balance. I think there should be 2 sisters and 2 brothers. They can um, entertain each other, however that goes. So yeah, we want 4 kids. We're gonna definitely. I really want a boy, so I'm gonna do everything in the book to have a boy next.
Of course you would.
So I'm just. That would be maybe a cool series or something like.
No, he's having all girls. I promise. He's having all girls just like
that's
me.
not allowed.
You don't get a say in that matter, unfortunately. That's all left.
Then
to the
I
big
will
guy.
keep saying until it happens that you guys are, even though you got your
Okay,
little-
that's not. No, that's totally different.
you guys are gonna have a boy.
No. You
You're
can't say
searching
that I'm
for
gonna have
reverse.
another kid now. That's not the same thing.
I've been saying that since before you cursed me with 4 girls.
Okay, so that's super cool. So remind me again, how old are you, Caleb?
25 in March,
And your wife?
24 in April.
Okay, cool. And you guys are having your first?
Yep.
Planned, unplanned?
Planned.
Planned, kiddo. Okay.
Which I think is rare to say.
Oh yeah.
But we kind of had a 5-year plan of marriage, and then we could start looking at having kids. And I wanted to be around. We both wanted to be around 25. And we earlier last year we felt like we were pretty ready, and we're never like truly ready because obviously you'd want more finances or you want a different house or a different area in life. But like we truly felt like God's timing was like, hey, you guys are ready to have kids. Let's do it.
So when you guys decided to get pregnant, that settled in. You guys went through that together. Now that you're saying that you're almost 25 and about to have your first kid, is there any part of you, or have you heard anything from your wife that says like you guys wish that you either waited a little bit longer or you guys wish that you guys got started a little bit earlier?
Honestly, kind of back to that last answer, I think that we like where we're at.
That's held true for you guys from pregnancy to almost birth. Like,
Yeah.
not once you guys have had any second thoughts.
I would say me. I think Naomi in the beginning maybe wished, she's like, oh wow, this is getting real. But me towards the end with like a little bit more stresses of like finances and stuff happening, it's like, wow, I like there's no going back. And so it's kind of like, oh, but then I lose that quickly because then it's like, oh, would I rather wait? Would I rather have a try and have a baby this year. It's like, no, I'm so grateful for what has happened in this past year and just the amount of changes that we both have experienced with this, that I like the timing. It's pretty good.
I kind of want to hear, when you have a kid, whether you ask for it or not, you get solicited and unsolicited advice on being a parent, right? I'm sure that you've seen that.
Yeah.
Is there a favorite piece of advice that you've received at this point?
Um, Biggest piece of advice is, um, it's funny, when I started at Costco, I would ask dads that I worked with that were like higher up that have experienced fatherhood, just a piece of advice, and I got a lot of patience. Just have patience with your wife, have patience with your kid. And another thing is be there for your wife, especially like the first 2 weeks to a month. Um, that was big. And then you actually gave me the do it every time they ask. What does it say? Because
My
that's
piece of
not,
advice, yeah, is always do it every single time they
yeah,
ask, because you never know the last time your kids are going to ask.
yeah. And so that really stuck because it's like I can kind of relate that to marriage as well.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I would say listen to your kids. And another thing that stuck out is no work is worth time away from your family, time away from growing up with your kids and raising your kids. That was from my manager at my previous job before Costco, and he said that he regrets. And he actually started getting teary eyed. He regretted how much he slaved away at the job just to get where, you know. His kids have cool stuff, but they also like don't really remember memories growing up with dad. And so you got to find the balance. I think, you do have to work and provide, but you also need to be there for your kids.
Mm.
No job is worth your boss asking if you want overtime. Go home and see your kids, I think.
That's pretty cool. I like that. And so to tie into patience, because that's one of the big ones that you got. How have you seen patience tested through pregnancy with your wife?
I would say just allowing her to be lazy, to put it bluntly. Just allowing her to be lazy. This is the time for her to do that. And just doing things that I normally wouldn't, doing things when I don't want to. And I'm not perfect at it. And I will say that she has been a rock star through this whole thing. She has done maybe more than she should as a pregnant lady. But her work ethic is just, I will always praise her for her work ethic. She's just, um, she's one of a kind, you know? So I would say just doing things that I don't normally do. What? That I don't normally do. Um, and then just, she hasn't been like super hormonal or like moody, but when she does, it's maybe a little bit, she's more, um, hormonal. So she's more emotional. That's the word, than usual. So just kind of having patience and talking her down from these hormones,
Yep.
and helping her through that rather than just, you know, telling her logically how, guys would, yeah, don't think that, or, hey, yeah, don't think that way. It's just, understanding that she's going through something she's never experienced. So,
Thousands of people do not say that pregnancy hormones are a roller coaster for no reason. It's
right.
very accurate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so then let's take a shift, and like we've gotten to know you and Naomi through pregnancy and getting ready for kiddo. I'm kind of curious what your background looked like. What was your examples? What was your family dynamic? Were your parents married? Did you come from divorce? How was your dad? How do you look to your dad? Is he a mentor, a role model? I want to kind of know about your childhood like experiences and what fatherhood looked like to you growing up.
Okay. So, grew up, parents married all through it, still married. Awesome. So,
Congrats. How many years is that for them?
I got married in like 93.
So going on 31 years?
Yeah.
31 years. Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Good for them.
So I, in my life, my example is long term, like marriage is forever. And thankfully my wife sees that. Her background is a little different. She does have split parents just recently, so she was an adult when it happened. So she could kind of, even though it was hard, I think she was 18 when it happened. So I think she coped with it a little better. But she does see, marriages forever, um, till death. Dad, probably my best friend. Um, Still to this day, we grew up just always being buddies. We're very like minded. We see a lot of things eye to eye. Um, One thing that he would work graveyard shift, so he would sleep during the day and then work overnight. And so I didn't really get to see him too much. So that's one thing that um, I'm that's why that kind of stuck with me is work is not always shouldn't be over your kids. So um, love my mom too. She's awesome. Um, I feel like I'm not being super sincere enough for how awesome my parents are, but they're the best gift that I've ever had. They were the we me and my siblings, we always talk about how awesome we were raised, and even just growing up seeing different, like, our friends' family dynamics, we were like, why we're just like built different, so we just kind of knew that we were pretty grateful for how we were raised, and just um, yeah, our parents. My mom was just a stay-at-home mom. Her dream was to be a mom, and she succeeded tenfold of that. And I can't wait for her to be grandma. She already is a grandma for my brother's kid, but she's super excited for our baby girl. So
No, I think it speaks volumes about how you said that you don't sound sincere enough, but to hear somebody say that their parents have been married for 30 plus years and your dad is your best friend says enough sincerity that
yeah,
there are more people in this country that will never be able to say either of those sentences, let alone one of them, and to be able to say both of them shows how cool your family dynamic is.
yeah, yeah.
So I think you're showing sincerity.
Sweet.
Okay, so that's pretty cool. We got to learn a little bit about your family dynamic and how rock solid that is. If you had to summarize, like, who are the most key people that made you the man you are today?
I think key people would be my parents mainly. Um, my dad is just someone that I've always looked up to, and my mom is. It's interesting that not in like I'm not a mother, but I look at my mom of how she parented us, and my dad wasn't bad, um, but just how my mom was to us with the patience that she had and just the way that she just structured us, and we were very structured as far as like we were even talking to her the other night about schedules for our baby. Like we were sleeping in our bed alone, not crying, within like 4 weeks or something. And she said within 7 weeks that we were sleeping through the whole night, 12 hours or 8 weeks, because she had us on such a tight schedule and she knew that it would work if she stuck to it. Um, and she was like, yeah, I even told your dad back then that she's like, I don't think I can do it anymore. He's like, just keep going. And then that night when she thought she couldn't do it and just needed to like buckle and go get the baby or something, I think it was my older sister, her first kid, um, slept slept through the night, and she did too. So it was right at that turning point where she just kept with that. So I kind of look up to my mom for how consistent she was, and then my dad. It was kind of funny. Back when I was maybe like 12 years old, I had bought a mini bike off Craigslist. It was like my dream to have a dirt bike. So this I got. It was $250. I saved up for it, and I was taking it apart to clean it and kind of rebuild it and paint it and refresh it because it was kind of gross. And I was coming to where I needed to put the chain back on, but the chain was taken off without taking the clip off, so it wasn't open. But I don't know if you've worked with like a chainsaw chain or a bike chain. When they're jumbled up, they get tangled, and you kind of have to wind them. And I was getting frustrated, and I just kept on. I was like, "Dad, can you do this?" And he's like, "No, like you got this. You can go ahead, untangle it." So I was like, "No, I'm struggling," and I would struggle, and I would maybe cry, and then I would go in and play. I'd give up. And I would come out, and Dad's in the garage, and I would go to this chain, and I would untangle it. Ask Dad, no. So then I want to ride my mini bike, but I can't because my chain's tangled, and my dang dad won't help me. Um, so then finally, it's like 3 days later, and I'm like, okay, I want to ride my mini bike really bad, even though there's snow on the ground. Like that just sounds fun. So I go out to the garage on my own whim, and my dad's not out there, and I finally I'm just struggling it for maybe an hour, maybe 30 minutes, and I finally get it, and my dad knew that I would get it. And I just I remember this to this day that even things that I struggle with things at work or things with editing softwares, anything that I kind of struggle with, I remember that life lesson that I don't need dad to help me. I don't need someone to help me necessarily on every issue. Um, so yeah,
That's awesome. That's a super cool story that you have with that memory and how you were able to correlate it back to your dad.
yeah. And what was it? One thing that I was struggling with at work, I was like, yeah, I don't know how to do it. I don't even know what the example was, but my dad was like, do you remember he reminded me of it recently, like within the last year. He was like, just treat it like the chain scenario, like the bike chain. And it like kind of made me choke up. I was like, wow, that's pretty sweet. That's I like that, you know.
That's
Treat
awesome.
it like the chain.
Yep.
You know, you'll get through it. You'll figure it out.
All right, so now we've gotten to know Naomi and Caleb, who were expecting baby Aspen, and we've got to figure out where Caleb came from in his background. So then, what makes you happy? Like, what do you enjoy doing? What's your hobbies? What's your fun? What's your go to?
Definitely like to be. I'm a social guy. I like to be around people. If I'm not around people, I get like super just down and in the slums. Um, so I like being around friends. Definitely family. Um, I love being around my family. That's like when I'm happy is around my mom and dad, especially. I love having the siblings together. And I kind of get that from my grandpa. He was definitely a family dude. Just my mom's dad. Just loved getting family together and took it very seriously. Just like he just loved having us all around. Rest in peace. And then I love cars. That is like hobby wise. I love cars. I have had many.
No kidding.
I think you might be topped, but
I
you do
am.
it for practicality. I do it for
Fun.
fun and a little bit of income every now and then too. Right now, I've got a Jeep Cherokee, a Jeep Comanche, Tundra, and a Grand Cherokee. Lifted my Jeep Cherokee, but I also love cars. I like off-roaders. I just like vehicles in general, and I definitely got that from my grandpa as well. I helped him build his first car. He tracked it down in '08. It was not his actual first car, like not the actual VIN number, but he tracked down an old Falcon, Ford Falcon. I think it's like a '64 Falcon in like Ohio, shipped it over here, and then we just built it from the ground up. It was a total rust bucket. Built it up to like showroom floor, and I've actually tracked it down, and it's down in like freaking New Jersey. It went from like here to Arizona, and then I called that guy because I searched the VIN and it was on his auction site. He has like his own auction site, and then he sold it. He's like, yeah, oh yeah, that's up, you know, in your area. He mentioned our area, and I was like, yeah, I actually know all about it. He's like, yeah, that had a Cobra engine, and it was like showroom worthy, and he like said everything about it. And I was like, yeah, it's funny you say that because like I helped put all of that in. Like every single nut and bolt was touched by me or my grandpa. Um, he's like, "Oh, you're so and so related to so and so." I was like, "Yep." He's like, "Yeah, that's actually down in New Jersey now." So eventually, I would like to bring it back in the family. Anyways, I like cars.
That's a cool goal.
Yeah,
I like that. Okay, so cars and time with family.
yeah,
How does your wife get along with your parents?
very well.
Very well. So you guys both go spend time with your parents a lot,
Yeah, yeah,
and vice versa on her side.
yeah. I would say maybe just a little bit more with my parents. They're home. They're home a lot. You know, if they're not working, they're home chilling. So we kind of just if we're on about, we'll stop by. They're in town. So her parents live a little more out of the way. They kind of live central town. So we
Do you have any expectations of that changing once baby's here?
nope.
You think that you're going to spend the same amount of time?
Yeah, I think my mother-in-law has a baby of her own. He's like I think he just turned 3, and then my father-in-law is getting married soon, and
Wait. Okay. Bag this up for me. You're 25 in March. You said. You said your wife's how old?
24
And okay, so she's 24. So your mother-in-law has a kid who is how old?
is 3.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she's got a 21-year-old brother, a 15-year-old brother, and then a 3-year-old brother. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. That
Yeah.
is weird to think about you guys having a kid that close together with what's going to be her sibling. I mean, I know that there's a lot of people like that in the country. Like there's
Yeah, I think especially with people having kids late in
Yeah.
life too. Like
Or big families.
if people in California get married at like 35 and then they don't even know if they want kids, but if they do, they're still old. Like in small towns, there's people that will transfer up to my store or even any job that I have and they're from California. They're like, "You guys get married so early up here." Like I was 20, my wife was 19. You guys were pretty young.
18.
Yeah. A lot of our friends that got married were like 18, 19. And that's just how we do it. But it's also we're believers and we want to get stuff done. So why not get married instead of, falling short?
I mean, hey, my wife got pregnant when we were dating, but like we still tried waiting for,
Yeah.
that right person.
We're
And
not all perfect.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so you kind of like, when you grow up in that background, like it definitely seems to be the thing in like the Christian realm. Like I know that there's a couple that aren't like that, but it seems like there's a lot of people who, if they grew up in the faith, they seem to want to get married young and start a family young. It's the people who either come to faith later or weren't growing up in the church. But the
Mhm.
people who came from that background definitely seem
Yeah.
to want to get started with their lives as early as they can.
Right.
Okay, so now we've gotten to know everything about who you are, and we got to know a little bit. And as we continue this channel, we're going to get to know you more and more, obviously. But there's always somebody who's one chapter earlier in the book than you. There's always somebody who's either just getting married, just having the conversations of getting pregnant. What's your one piece of advice that you would give to Caleb just before you and your wife got pregnant?
Yeah, I would tell myself travel more. And I would say travel. It's kind of funny because we would do like maybe one road trip a year within, I would say, 10-hour range, if that. We would do a lot of like Seattle or Oregon Coast trips, mainly Oregon Coast for the Oregon Coast, but we'd also hit IKEA because we like hitting IKEA. We think that's a fun stop. But I would say put money towards traveling like to funner areas. And if you enjoy road trips, like do that. But road trips, I would say fit in a lot of road trips. It's kind of funny that I say that because we would do those little road trips, but now that we're having our kid in a few months, my father-in-law is having a wedding in Mexico, so we're going to that with a newborn. I think she's going to be like barely 2 months old. And then in October, my older sister's getting married, so we're going on a cruise for that. So we're doing all this travel and we're going to Utah for the wedding and stuff. So it's kind of funny that we say that, but that's also why I would say that is we kind of had a different scenario. We had COVID during when we wanted to travel. We didn't really go on a honeymoon because we got married in 2019 and we were going to save a little bit more and then travel in 2020. And COVID hit and all these restrictions. And I think we were going to go to Cabo or Cancun or something. And we didn't have what it takes to get over there. So, yeah, so we kind of just put a little bit more money into like buying things and into our house a little bit more. So I would say travel. Also, don't get addicted to your phone. That is something that I still struggle with. And I would say definitely prioritize getting off your phone and spending actual time with your wife. Even if you guys are watching the same show or movie, just spend time. There's so much more time that I could have put towards. I'm better with my screen time now than I was. But yeah, I definitely regret how much time I've put on my phone instead of just hanging out with my wife. Kind of goes back to that when your kids ask to do it, just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Same with my wife. I think when I was tired or lazy and she wanted to go for a drive or something or go get ice cream, no, I'd rather sit in bed and watch YouTube or something. So, yeah, I would say minimize phones and just get out into nature. Just hang out with your wife.
Well, this has been incredible. Caleb, thank you so much for letting me interview you, get to introduce you to the whole channel, and get people used to who you are.
Thanks
Any
for having
final
me.
words as you sign off?
I would say stay tuned. It's kind of weird being in this seat and asking you guys to stay tuned, but yeah, this has been fun being in this seat, and I'm excited for what we have planned in the future for the show.
So don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button down below. Turn on notifications so that you guys can find out when the next episode drops. And in the meantime, always remember, keep fighting the good fight.